you were saying this game wasn't quite difficult, but for some reason it should be, I guess. Right? It should have a degree of a challenge. Right? There's usually, when you're playing a game, there's some sort of goal, and there's a means to that end, and then there's some sort of motivation why you would do it. Whether it's because you personally are really excited about getting like the pink bikini you get when you get to like a fashion show in a Barbie Super Princess game, or because it's fun, and it's fun to do. Like it's fun to save the princess in Zelda, or in Mario, or in everything exactly. Did I write change? I meant challenge. Okay. All right. So difficulty and I guess fun. Jane, you were saying something that was the best. Say it again.
I don't remember.
Oh, it was like.
Oh, did you say Dan or Jane?
Jane. Okay.
Oh, well, it's similar things at one point. We were talking about
The song.
we were talking about the song. We were talking about programming and
Okay.
the limits to freedom of the game.
Okay, so that's cool. So we were talking before about how when we play games, they're free, and like when you think about playing something like soccer, like it's a physical game that you actually enter into, or chess, physical chess, you actually enter into it, and chess. You know what? Maybe I should introduce some video game theory concepts now. Okay, so the classic, and now it's kind of like overwritten, but one of the big debates in video game theory for a long time was between the narratologists and the ludologists. Have you guys ever heard of narratology or ludology? They're like, narratology are people who espouse the fact that the ultimate aim of the video game is that it's able to tell a story. But not only that, it's how it tells a story. That a video game can tell a story in a way that's unique, and its narrative is how it's significant. Okay? And ludology was all about play. It's that the fact that a video game gives you the opportunity to interact in a different kind of way. It's all about how you play. It's about the control. It's about the feel. It's about the design versus the story. And
That should hopefully be our food. Sorry, guys.
Hello.
and then that debate has kind of died down.
Good, how about
People
you?
realize that it's kind of a false distinction. Like games can have stories and be fun and be like have like play elements, right? And there's a guy named Jesper Juhl who wrote a book called Half Real. And Jesper Juhl,
Oh, okay,
like,
so how soon will you be here?
that's all good.
Great, thanks so much. Yeah, it'll be great. I'll be out front. Bye.
You cool?
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. They'll apparently be here in like 5 to 8 minutes
Okay,
or
good.
something.
All right, good. So I just have that reason. So. Okay, so Jesper Juhl introduced this idea that he took a lot of different definitions about games, because there are a lot of definitions about what a game is up to this point. And he said, you know what, I think that a game is two things. It is rules and it's fiction. It's both. It is a series of rules that construct a space in which you play, limits by which we,
I'm hovering because he has the money. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I was
no, it's all
because
good.
I didn't want to leave.
and there are limits by which we condition the game. So like chess, for example, it's a game and it has rules, right? You have to know them, the direction. Like a knight moves in a certain space, and we use this kind of board, we use this many pieces, and a pawn does this, and you can capture the guy like this. And the end goal, the game is over when you kill the king, right? Right. So physical games like soccer, like chess, like anything we normally play, the rules are what we decide upon. We make the rules, right? I mean, we're only playing chess because I decided, I didn't think, because I don't go in there and smack all the pieces off the table and be like, I win, chess, right? Like, if I smack all the pieces off the table and I said, that's chess, then the guy would say, well, that's maybe a different game, the idiot chess or something. It's not chess it's not what I meant by chess, right? So games are a series of rules. And video games are interesting. I mean, it's just a general question. Why do games translate so well into digital format? Yes,
Well, because it's very easy to translate rules. Like, rules work pretty well in a digital form.
yeah, that's what a computer is. It's a bunch of rules. And the difference between a real life game and a video game, what makes a video game a little different, is that when you enter into the video game, there's no rule book that tells you how to play. Like, here's what you need to do if you want to play this game successfully. You just play. They may give you, like, they tell you, like, here's how controls work and stuff like that, but they're not telling you, like, hey, make sure you don't walk to the end of the level. There's actually an invisible barrier there because we didn't program beyond that point, right? But that's a rule. You can't, in Mario, fly to space if you're playing Mario 64. In Mario Galaxy, you're in space. But anyway, if you're playing Mario 64, you can't fly into space, and you can't fly beyond the boundaries of the level. And if you go into you can't go into a brick wall to go into the level. You have to jump into a painting. And those are all rules. It's what makes the game itself. The fictional element that Jewel talks about. No, we were just talking about how video games are rules in fiction, and the rules define the whole game. And the fictional element is usually like that there is some sort of visual aspect to it, or some sort of story to it. I mean, Mario has that graphical image of this Mario guy and the story about a princess and stuff like that. This is the fiction. I mean, when we play a game, we enter into a space where there's usually a story. Even if there isn't a story, even if it's just like a game where you have a dot, and you have to move the dot around in a circle, and if you can move it around the circle 10 times in a minute, you win. I mean, you're still entering some fictional space where like you're in dot land. Somebody could tell a story. They could put a story on top of that, like Indiana Jones. Have you guys ever heard of Adventure? No? Adventure. There are two Adventure games. Adventure was a text-based game, and it was basically like
Yeah, I'm talking about the one for the Atari where the dragons look like ducks.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So then they made this. There was a text-based adventure game, and this was back when graphics sucked, and all you could do to play a video game was do a text-based, which not that like they're obsolete, they're great. But it tells you what's going on, you read the story, you tell the game, like, go left, go up, pick up the bug. And then, so they made this first graphical game for the Atari called Adventure. It was an adventure game. You're just a little dot, and you, like, it was a really significant game in the history of games because this guy had to translate for the first time a description-based, text-based concept to a visual, like corresponded to a visual element. And so the idea, like we play video games and we're like, okay, if I walk on top of this sword, it's going to be in my hand, right? That's often like something in games. They're like general rules we follow. Like if I blow up this like box, there's probably going to be a health pack inside. We assume that that's going to be the case. But that came from somewhere. So this guy had the idea that like, I know, if I hit something, it'll all of a sudden like belong to me. And if I run into an enemy, it'll mean it's dead. Or I'm going to have to use this big magnet so I can only, because you can only carry one item at a time if you have a magnet. It's also because the Atari was so but anyway, these are rules to condition it, and there's a fictional element on top of it. That's Jewel, Jesper Jewel's concept of what seems should I pause or?
I'm gonna break for the grab some pizza.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Or, okay, let me make a final point then.
Do that.
So I'm just saying, I was just talking about rules in fiction. And if we go back to what we were saying before about video games as like free, or playing a game as is a freedom, right? But now we're talking about rules. And that's what you started pointing out, that like, well, the programmer made the game, like you can't kill the Colossus any way except burning the rope. Or like your weapons are pointless. And so somebody may very well say, how does that make you free at all? The whole game is a rule. And people want to, like, I play World of Warcraft so I can be free, right? I'll be able to do what I want in this space. Except that World of Warcraft is bounded by conditions and rules and limitations. So how that has to do with freedom, we're going to talk after our lunch break.